Hey everyone, welcome to Linden Hill Farmstead. And tonight we are going to make some beer. It's been a spectacular day. Kids are in bed and I have cleaned out the garage, sort of, enough to brew. And so I have my water, my grains, my fermenting bucket, all this stuff. We'll get into it later, but we're going to have a lot of fun. It's a spectacular evening. There's a perfect view of Venus right out there. And what more could you ask for on a Friday night? Hey Leia, what's up? What are you doing? Don't you go up there. You don't need to go up there. You're gonna try though. What are you doing? Leia. Naughty kitty. Get down. Ah, no. Oh my goodness. There she went. I almost had her. I almost had my hand on her and she jumped right away. Anyway, so here's my keg. Well, it's not a keg. It used to be a keg from Anheuser-Busch, and now it has been converted into a brew kettle. I didn't do this. I got it off of Facebook Marketplace. And then this is just a turkey fryer. It's like a propane burner. And I got that used at my friendly local home brew store. They sell stuff on consignment, which is pretty cool. So I snagged that. Now you'll have to forgive me, the lighting is not great in here and I don't feel like setting up any extra lights, but I am brewing with distilled water, okay? This is just straight H2O. Most of your drinking water, or even spring water that you would buy at the store, has other things in it than H2O. Things like, I don't know, maybe some calcium, maybe a little bit of sodium, stuff like that. Very small amounts, but that affects mouthfeel and flavor, and some of the minerals are actually beneficial to you. Actually, no, it is beneficial to you. They don't put bad stuff in drinking water. That's what water reports are for. But I'm using distilled water, one, because we have well water here, and we use a water softener. And the water in the water softener, I have learned the hard way, is not great for brewing. I brewed a few batches with just the water I have in my house, and they all had this really overpoweringly bitter taste to them, even when they shouldn't have. So, after I thought about it a little bit, I'm like, well, the number one ingredient to beer is water, so maybe I should change my water. And I went to the grocery store the next time I brewed, got myself some spring water, and voila, it instantly improved my beer, which was great. Now, we're using distilled water here so we can create our own water profile. So I'm going to add a little bit of, I guess they're called brewing salts, just to create a water profile that we want for the beer that we're making. We're going to steep the grains in all this water, and then we're going to boil it for about an hour. So some of this will be soaked up in the grains, some of it will evaporate during the boil. My target is a 5-gallon batch, and I'm going to brew, we're going to start with 7.5 gallons. This is gallon number 7. I know this is really exciting to watch you guys. So I forgot to tell you the beer that we're making. I am doing just a classic pale ale, and I wanted to make it with Cascade hops, which is a pretty popular variety, but I wanted to do it because one of the hop varieties that I ordered and planted today is Cascade. Apparently it grows pretty well here in Pennsylvania, and we have the space to do it, and it's gardening season, and I don't really do any gardening, so I thought this would be a fun way for me to sort of join the fam in doing that. So yeah, we're doing Cascade hops. My goal is to have it be like mildly hoppy and slightly malty. And yeah, that's what we're gonna add our brewing salts to sort of accentuate those things. And so we'll see how it goes. The first thing that we're gonna put into our brewing salts or our beer is this stuff. This stuff is, focus, there you go. This is gypsum. And I don't understand the chemistry behind all of this. I'm just going off of what people more experienced and smarter than me have said. But gypsum will accentuate sort of the bitterness in a beer. And since we're making a more hop-forward beer, not outrageously hoppy, but a hop-forward beer, we want our water to sort of put that in the forefront. So we're going to add, I believe, 6 grams of gypsum. Pour some in here. There, that's good. 6 grams of gypsum. This is calcium chloride. And calcium chloride actually accentuates, it helps bring out more of the malt. So if we wanted to do a more malty beer, one that has more of highlights more of the malt from the grains instead of the bitterness from the hops, then we would use more of this calcium chloride. But in any rate, we are going to be doing 2 grams of calcium chloride today. Whoop. Okay, not 4. We're gonna pour some of that back in. 3, okay, a little bit more. In go our salts. Straight into the water here. Yep. All right. This is my big, long, sort of brewing spoon, big stirring spoon. So we're gonna stir that up. Stir and mix. And let that dissolve a little bit. All right. Now it's on. And this thing is like a rocket, man. We can get this thing really going. I'm brewing in a bag. This is my big brew bag. It's gonna hold all the grains. So instead of doing a mash and then sparging, this is what we're doing. So we need this water to come up to a temperature of about 154 degrees. We wanna mash around that temperature, and mash means just steeping grains. And you steep the grains because in the malt, there is starch. And when you add heat to starch, it creates sugar. So we are converting this starch into sugar, and then the yeast will eat that sugar and convert it to alcohol. So that's how we make beer. It's really pretty simple, but you can go as deep into it as you would like. You can do it very technically, or you could treat it like an art and really experiment with it, which is pretty cool. Today, I just want to make something simple. This is only my second time using this setup, so I'm still practicing and sort of learning how to do it. I've done some extract brewing where you can buy stuff where the malt has already been converted, or the grains have already been converted, and you can buy it either in a powder, which is a dry malt extract, or you can get it in a canister, which is a liquid malt extract. And that stuff is super, super sticky and dense, more so than honey. And it works, but I want to try to do it on my own. That's pretty much the reason why. And it's another step in learning how to brew. So that's cool. There's always something to learn with this, which I like. So I'm brewing in the garage here because I wouldn't be able to do this in the house. Our stove would not be able to heat up this much water. It would take forever to bring it up to temperature, and then we have to do a boil. So not only do we have to have all that energy heat up water to boil, but it's going to heat up our house, which, now that it's springtime, we don't want an 80-degree humid house. We want our house to be comfortable. So we're sweating it out a little bit here in the garage next to our burner. But yeah, once again, it's beautiful outside. So we're getting a nice breeze in here, and you can still see Venus, which is awesome. It's beautiful. It's just a spectacular day. It's been a really, really great spring so far, and we have a lot of fun stuff ahead of us. While we're waiting for the water to boil here, figured I would tell you a little bit about the grain. You can't see it super well here in the bag, but I just got this at my local homebrew shop, and Yeah, ground it up there just a few hours ago, so it should still be pretty fresh. And I'm using a 2-row base malt. That's where most of the sugar is going to come from. So yeah, that's our base malt. And then I also have a crystal malt or caramel malt. And that's going to add a little bit of sweetness to it because in the crystal malt, there is unfermentable sugar that's extracted when you mash your grains. So that's going to add some sweetness, which will be good. We want to try to figure out how to balance the bitterness of the hops and then the sweetness of the malt. That's always sort of the game that you play when you make beer. But yeah, so we're going to have some nice malty flavor from the crystal malt, and it's also going to give some color too. Those are a little bit darker grains, so my goal is to sort of end up with sort of like a coppery color or maybe an amber color. And yeah, so we'll see how that goes once we're finished. Okay, our water is almost ready. I'm going to give it another stir here. I'm checking it because the warmer the water gets, the faster it's going to heat up. So we don't want to leave it too long and overshoot our temperature because it's going to take a long time for this much water to cool down to the temperature that we want. So right now it's at 156, 157, 156.9, 156.8. We're going to let it go just I don't know, like another minute, and then we're going to put our grains in. Because when we put the grains in, the grains will cool the water a little bit and will get us down to the mash temperature that we want. But we don't want to overdo it too much, which was my mistake last time. All right, I'm going to say that's good. Turn the flame off. And then I have all these grains. That's a big old bag, isn't it? This is 12 pounds of grains. So I'm gonna steep these grains for an hour. Okay. All right, now the goal is to dump this in without this going in to the water with it. So we got 12 pounds of grains here. We're gonna do our best. Oh boy. Okay, don't lose the grains. Nice. Saved it. Now I gotta fish this out of some really hot water. So maybe next time I should figure out how to keep this on here so it doesn't slide all over the place. Now that there's some weight in the bottom though, it should be fine now. Haha. And there we go. That is our mash. Whoops. Want that grain to get in there. Well, I can't rinse my hand off in there because it's 150 degrees. Okay, let's give it a stir, shall we? Let's also get these grains in there. I want to try to convert as much sugar as we can. The last time I did a brew in a bag setup, the mash didn't go quite the way I would have liked, which ended up in a beer that was low alcohol, which doesn't bother me. But what that means is it didn't fully convert all of the sugars, so we missed out on some of the body and flavor and mouthfeel in the beer. So this time, I want to make sure we do it better than last time so that we can do this beer some justice and have it turn out as good as we can get it. Now the last beer that I did was really good. I mean, I liked it a lot, but there was certainly room for improvement as well. So now that we have those grains steeping, we're gonna set our timer for 1 hour, and that's how long the grains are gonna steep. So we're gonna check it periodically, check the temp and things like that, give it a stir, make sure those grains are moving around and all the sugars are getting extracted. So we have it at 157, 156. That's all right. It's a little bit high, but I think that's good for now. It's gonna sit, it's gonna cool a little bit. Actually, I could maybe add a little bit of cool water to it. Might as well just add a little bit of cool water. That might change the water chemistry a little bit, but once again, I'm just home brewing, and how this turns out, it's gonna be drinkable, it's gonna be good. And it's my first time brewing this recipe, so you know, if there's inconsistency in batches, that's totally fine for a home brewer. I understand that if you were brewing commercially, we don't want those kind of variations, because you want your product to be the same every time. But heck, I'm brewing in my garage. All right, yeah, just with adding that little bit of cold water, it was at 157, and now it's at 155. So, you know, and I added, I don't know, probably 2 cups of water. So that made a difference. We're gonna let this sit tight for the next 56 minutes. Get out of here, fly. And while that's happening, I'm gonna prep other stuff to get ready for the boil. All right, so while the mash is mashing, while that's sitting there, figured we'd go over sort of the brew day here. So I'm making a Cascade Pale Ale, and every time I brew, I just like to make a goal. Like, let's try to accomplish something. Like I said, there's always like room to grow in really anything that you're doing, but you know, I enjoy brewing beer. I think it's fun, and I'm learning something new just about every time. So my goal is to mash well. The last time I did an all grain mash, I had a really hard time keeping the temperature where it was supposed to be, and that influenced the outcome of the beer. It still turned out fine, it was drinkable, but you know, want to try to hit our targets. So that's my goal. And then my other goal is just to make a crisp, drinkable summer brew, which is what this is going to be. It's going to be a really crisp, clean drinking beer, I think. So here I have my ingredients listed, and my mash temp targeted for 152 to 154. And then these are my grains. So 10.5 pounds of two-row pale malt, 1.5 pounds of caramel malt, 60 Levy-Bond. That's the sort of the darkness. Like the higher the number, the darker the roast the grains are. Mashing for 1 hour. After we mash for 1 hour, we're going to begin the boil. When it comes to a boil, we are going to add our first hop addition, Cascade pellet hops, and the boil is for 1 hour. So yep, these are going to be in there for 60 minutes. At 30 minutes, so halfway through the boil, we're going to add another thing of Cascade hops. At 10 minutes, we're going to add this stuff. This is called Irish moss, and I'm not sure how the chemistry works behind this, but yeah, it smells like seaweed. You don't need to use very much. It won't affect the flavor of your beer because it's using very little, but somehow this does something with the proteins in the malt, and it helps clear your beer. And since this is sort of a lighter colored beer, I'd like it to try to be translucent, like when it's in a mug or a glass that you can see through it. Some are not, some are opaque, and that's okay too. But I wanted to try to, you know, have the final product be kind of clear. So that's why we're adding Irish moss. I didn't add this the last time just because I made a brown ale, and brown ales are dark and you can't see through them anyway. And then with 5 minutes to go in the boil, we're going to add another round of Cascade hops. So the reason why we're adding hops at different times in the boil is to extract the acids in them. And alpha acids are what are bittering. And so this here for the 60-minute boil is going to extract, this is going to be our bitters. This is what's going to add like bitterness to the beer. This one here is going to add some bitterness, but it's also going to add a little bit of flavor, hop flavor. And this one here at the end is going to add some flavor and also aroma. So all of these additions are important, and they are going to not only add, you know, bitterness, flavor, and aroma, it's also going to balance out the sweetness of the malt. If you were to taste the malt as it's steeping in here right now, it would be very, very sweet. And so that's why we add hops, because we want to kind of cut that sweetness a little bit with some bitterness. Finally, we're going to cool down our wort. Wort is unfermented beer, so after the boil, actually after the mash, you have wort. So we're gonna cool the wort down to 70-ish degrees, and then pitch our yeast. We don't want the water to be too hot, otherwise it will kill the yeast, and then you will have just wort, and that's not good. We want beer. We want, so we want this stuff to go crazy, eat all the sugar, and then turn it into some alcohol, and then we're gonna let that ferment, and then we're gonna put it in we're gonna keg it. I'm not gonna bottle it. I'm gonna put it in a keg, and we'll have it on tap for the spring and summer. Okay, the hour is up. So now we need to pull this out. And to help me with that, I grabbed this huge bowl that we're gonna put the grains in. I also have these, I guess they're grilling gloves. They're oven mitts, but they're silicone, and it'll help me not burn my hands, because once we lift this up, I'm going to try to squeeze it a little bit to extract a little more of that sugar out of there. Alright, now this is really heavy because it's full of water. We're going to let this drain for a moment. It drips some out the side here. I don't know how I did that. Oh, okay. There's a little hole right here, so it came out over the top. I needed to hold it a little lower. Alright, but we're okay. I was worried that we had a leak on the bottom, and I would have been really sad about that. So we lost a little bit of our wort here on the floor. It smells really good. Overall, the mash went better than last time I did this, so you know, I'm happy about that. There was still some fluctuation, but the mash was between 155 and 151, so you know, not terrible, but could be more consistent. But it's a lot better than last time. Last time I overshot it way too much, and my mash was at like 160, which the higher the temperature, the more like unfermentable sugar you extract. And so that's what happened. I had a beer that was more on the malty side. I mean, it was on the malty side to begin with because it was a brown ale. You know, that's why the ABV was so low, was because it was mostly unfermentable sugar in there. And that's because I mashed it too high. So this one will do a lot better. Okay, now we're boiling. That boil is a little too violent. We're gonna have to turn this down. Oh boy. Turn it down, turn it down, turn it down. Okay, we definitely don't want to boil over, because then we lose some of our malt. And boy, I mean, that's sugar water, so it's gonna be really, really, really sticky, which we don't want. But what we want is a good rolling boil. So we don't want a ton of foam, so we can turn our flame down now that we got it up to a boil. Thank goodness this brew kettle is more than we need for this batch of beer, because that probably could have boiled over. What we're going to do now is add our first round of hops. we're using these hop pellets. So you may or may not know that hops grow like on vines. They're these long kind of vine things that climb, and the things that are used are they're flowers that are cones, and they produce lupulin, which is what adds to the bitterness of beer. So basically, people harvest these hops and then they grind them up and force them through tubes to make these pellets, and they keep well, and it just makes it easier. They're a lot smaller to pack too, obviously. So we're gonna dump this in. Ta-da! And now we're gonna set our timer for 60 minutes. There we go. 60 minutes and counting. So, while this boils, what I have done is sort of prep the next steps. One really important thing that I haven't talked about is the most important thing when you're brewing is to keep things clean and sanitary, which, I'm breaking a rule right now by holding bun, which we'll talk about that in a sec. But you want things to be clean and sanitary because you don't want any nasties getting into your beer. That can ruin a whole batch of beer. And you worked really hard, and it would really stink to have this, fermenting for a couple of weeks, and then you taste it and it is disgusting and potentially harmful. So, I didn't record any of this, but I cleaned everything from the kettle to the table, the bucket, all that stuff. The light just went off in the garage. Now I look probably really shadowy. Let's turn it back on. There we go. It's motion censored and now it's stopped. But anyway, I cleaned all that stuff ahead of time, and I don't focus so much on sanitation. Like my hands are washed and I have my things clean pre-boil, because it's going to boil, and boiling, will take care of nasties. Now, once the boil is over, then I'm going to be really hyper vigilant about whatever is going to be touching the beer. I have there's a spray bottle right there that has a sanitizer, and it's a no rinse sanitizer. So I'll spray stuff down. Anything that's going to be touching the beer is going to be sanitized. So my hands, the stirring spoon, even my work chiller there, that copper coil thing, will be sprayed with sanitizer and stuff, because we just want to protect. So obviously, after I'm done holding bun here, I will go wash my hands and stuff too. Light went back off. Really wish this would stay on. There we go. As someone who does videography often, you'd think I would take time to set up proper lighting, but I don't want to. This is more about brewing than cinematography. So, but yeah, here's Bun. He is, I think he's called like a lion's mane, and as you can see, he's very, very fluffy. He's a real sweet guy. He's scared of everything. So he's pretty much paralyzed right now as I hold him. But my kids don't like to hold him very much, unfortunately, because, well, he feels anxious around them, and to protect himself, one time he bit my son, and so now they don't like to handle him. But he and I are buddies, because he knows that I can be calm with him, but he's still kind of shaky. He's still feeling a little anxious. Aside from him being really fluffy, we also got him because, well, I didn't know this. Megan told me this. I don't know anything about homesteading, let's be honest. But Megan told me that bunny poop is like the perfect ratio of all things good in fertilizer. So, like nitrogen, carbon and potassium, something like that. I don't remember what it is, but yeah, those little bunny turds are like happy pills for your garden. So we do put that into our compost, which helps make for some really nice soil to grow things in. So thanks, Bun Bun. You're doing your part. Now, if only dog doo-doo would be good, then Hobbs could actually be pulling his weight. But yeah, he's just a happy old guy now. So I think I'm gonna name this beer Copper Creek Pale Ale, and it's gonna be sort of a tribute, nerd alert here, okay? A tribute to my D&D group. I run a D&D campaign right now, and the group first met in the town called Copper Creek. And so this is sort of to celebrate our crazy adventures that we go on. And yeah, we have a lot of fun storytelling together. And so I wanted to make something sort of for them and to just celebrate us. But Bun Bun, should we do a tribute beer for you? If I made a beer as a tribute to Bun Bun, what would it be? What kind of beer would it be, and what would you call it? Let me know in the comments. Also, if there's any other beer you would like me to make and record, and then show it off on the YouTubes, let me know. It'd be fun. I like finding excuses to brew and stuff, so I'd like to do it more often. I love sharing it. I'm really the only person in my house that drinks beer, and I'm making 5-gallon batches, so it takes me forever to drink 5 gallons of beer. No one needs that much beer. So, I take it to friends' houses and to get-togethers and stuff. So it's fun. It's a fun thing to share with people. And once I put the hops in, you could immediately notice the changes that the hops made. Instead of it just smelling like this sweet sort of like toasted grain aroma, you immediately got like the aroma of the hops, sort of that like floral, a little bit piney, citrusy, sort of like grapefruit scent in there. And so yeah, it's just really cool to see how like through each step of the brewing process how things change and develop. Oh, also today I planted hops, so I'm going to be growing my own hops plants. So in the fall, late summer, early fall is when hops get harvested. When the hops are ready to be harvested in late summer, early fall, I'd like to do another brew and use the hops that I grew. This is the first year, so there isn't going to be a really big harvest, but whatever I have, I'll see what we can do. I actually have 4 different kinds of hops, so I'm really kind of, instead of just growing a little bit, I decided, hey, we have the space, so I might as well try to grow some different varieties. So I'm growing Cascade hops. The light went out again. Cascade hops, Cashmere hops, which is apparently like a new sort of like breed or strain, which has a lot of sort of like tropical fruit notes apparently, which I thought sounded really cool, like pineapple, grapefruit, even a little bit of like a coconut note. So I thought that could be really cool to play with. Mount Hood hops and Willamette hops. So most of you that probably means nothing to you, and I don't really know a whole lot about it either, but I want to experiment. So I have used Cascade hops before, and I like them, and so that's why I'm using it for this brew. And but I also want to use it so that I have a better sense of what my Cascade hops will be like when I use my own hops. What do you think, Bun Bun? He's starting to calm down now. fluffy boy. Hey, Bun Bun. Say hello to YouTube. There he is. Say hi, Bun Bun. A little fuzzball. 30-minute hop edition. So we just added our 30-minute hop edition. So in another, what is that? In like 20 minutes. Yeah, 20 minutes. I had to math it. Math is hard at nighttime for me. Yeah, so in 20 minutes we're going to add our teaspoon of Irish moss, and that will go into providing some clarity for the beer. And then 5 minutes after that we'll add our final hop addition. But yeah, as you can see, a lot of brewing is kind of just like waiting for stuff to happen, just making sure that you stay on top of things so that you don't have a boil over, so that your mash temp is good. But when it's boiling, once you have that rolling boil dialed in, you don't really need to do much to it. It just does its thing. So this part is really relaxing. A lot of people will, have a home brew in hand. Let me fix the light. A lot of people will have a home brew in hand, and just it's a fun social time because you're just hanging out, letting the work boil, and following your timer and your recipe. So yeah, I find it to be really relaxing. It's not a stressful thing to do, and like honestly, as long as you keep things like clean, whatever you make is going to be drinkable, which is really cool. So it might not like turn out exactly the way you would expect or the way that you would want, but it's going to be something that you can drink and share and be proud of, which I think is cool. So yeah, to me, brewing is relaxing. It's cool to like experience the changes, like I said. And yeah, I'm gonna have to get some guys together to do it because I honestly am I don't know any other people that brew, but I have a bunch of friends that are interested in it. So we're gonna have to get together sometime and they can learn and we can make something together, which would be fun. So some of you might be thinking about what I'm going to do or what you should do with spent grains, because you can't use them to make more beer. Well, I guess you could maybe try, but it would be really weak because all the sugars have been extracted from it. But there are a few things that people like to do. So first of all, we have chickens. Chickens will love that. They'll eat it up. People also use spent grains to make bread, which I think is kind of cool. Now, if you grind it up into flour, it doesn't, like there's nothing, it won't produce gluten. So you need to use like flour that will actually produce gluten, but you could add it to like flavor it or give it some color. So I might dehydrate some of it and maybe Megan could, sprinkle some of the spent grains on the outside, and we'll have, a hearty kind of crunchy crunchy bread with some spent grains. Also, people have made dog treats with them, which is fun. We'll add peanut butter and other things. So maybe I'll make some little doggy treats for the Hobinator. I know he would appreciate it. He's a lab, so he eats anything, but he loves peanut butter. I bet you Leia would like it too. That'd be fun. So as we get closer, we are at 15 or 16 minutes now. 16 minutes left on the timer. So in about 6 minutes, we'll add our Irish moss. But now is when the time where things are going to pick up a little bit. So I have things cleaned. That's my fermenting bucket over there. I don't think you can see it on frame, but I have a fermenting bucket there. There were flies in it, so I went and cleaned it again, and we'll make sure that gets sanitized. But yeah, after the last hop addition goes in, I'm going to start spraying things with sanitizer, because we got to hook up the hoses to the wort chiller, and that stuff would potentially be touching the beer. So I'm gonna turn back on light. There we go. So yeah, you know, that's gonna have to be cleaned up. I have a bucket of soapy water, so I'll scrub that down and then rinse it, and then we'll spray it with sanitizer. Yeah, and then we just gotta wait for it to cool down, and then we can pitch the yeast, which is fun. One thing that I really like about these hop packages, after you dump the hops in, you can still smell the hops in the container. So I like to carry one around and learn a little bit about the hops. Like what do they smell like? What notes am I getting? And for these, there's an opened one already. Now, this isn't very exciting. It might not be very exciting for you because you can't smell anything, but it is like pleasantly fruity. Some light citrus, like tangerine, I guess, or orange. A little bit flowery. And so that's a kind of a cool way. Now, if I were to taste it, it would be like super, super bitter and probably grassy and earthy, because, you know, there's vegetation in the hops. So, you know, just tasting it would not do it justice. I would have to maybe make a tea out of it to really get a feel for what the flavor is like. I didn't do that, but it is pretty wild to open up different like packages of hops, and you can tell the difference, which is cool. So, you know, each type of hops has a job to do, which is cool. So you can get really creative when you're making your own recipes and stuff. I feel like brewers, I mean, they work really hard and spend a lot of time making sure things are really consistent. So there's like a challenging part of the job, but you know, I think it would also be really fun to just get creative and play with different ingredients and think about what would go well with this, what would go well with that. I at least feel that way when I cook, and so it's fun to try different pairings or different flavors that might go together, and yeah, it's just fun. Here's our Irish moss going right into the kettle. Just a teaspoon of that will do the trick. Alrighty, here's our last hop addition. There we go. And once again, this is the final hop addition. There's only 5 minutes left in the boil. So this will not add bittering, but flavor and aroma. So those sort of sweet, floral, sort of tropical notes that I was describing earlier, hopefully that's what we're going to get when we pour it into our glass. Okay, now we have a couple minutes. I'm going to get the hoses cleaned up, and I'm going to stick it here in to finish the little last part of the boil, and then we'll turn it off and then turn the hose water on to start cooling it. Alright, now the ends of these hoses probably aren't going into the beer, but just in case, I washed them and now they're going to be sanitized. Do this one too. Okay, here we go. This is the in. I want to make sure this is on tight because we don't want any of this water going into our beer. Okay, that's good. This goes on this end. Ouch. I'm just going to give this one last spray just for good measure. There we go. That's good. Okay. So we have our in and our out. I'm going to put this in like that. Nice. Hold it over there. Whoop, what do you know? Our timer's done. Okay. That is that. Flame out. Flame out means stop the boil. And now we're going to turn on the wort chiller. I have the water on out there, and I'm going to turn this on. But first I'm going to have this out hose going out of the garage. Okay, flick this switch. There we go. All right. Whoop. I'm getting some leakage here. Let's see if I can get that to stop. Let me turn that off. Here we go. You guys get to watch me. If you watched my previous videos where I said it was like watching 4-year-olds play soccer, well now you're watching me struggle through this. Oh, we got a kink in the hose. Looks like we have a pinhole leak right here in my wort chiller, which is not ideal. There's nothing I can do about that right now, unfortunately. Okay. Well, I think that stopped the leak. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it's still leaking a little bit. Unfortunately, I'm still getting a little bit of a leak here in this hose, and I don't want this water to get into my beer because it will change the water profile. So what am I to do? Let's see if we can tighten it with a wrench. Might have been a good idea to check this beforehand. But I didn't have this issue last time, so I didn't anticipate it. You can probably see we're still getting a slow drip there, which I don't want. I don't want that. So, I'm going to try something. I'm going to turn off the water real quick. And hopefully this doesn't spray all over the place. Oh, whoops. Messed up. Well, I'm having some problems here. Let's see what we can do. Gotta get this off. Can I get this? Okay, there. Okay, I got this off. I'm going to move this down and put this through the handle. Yeah, there we go. And now if this leaks, it's far enough down into the wort that it will continue to cool it. But if this drips, then it will drip out. Voila. Okay. All right. There we go. Home brewing. All about ingenuity and finding a way. All right. So there we go. We're going to let that do its thing now. So periodically I'm going to check the temperature of it. It's still steaming, so I know it's way too hot. Once it stops steaming, I'll start checking the temperature. There, now we're not getting any like water drops from our tap into here, which, you know, won't mess up our water profile. We got very little water in there, so I'm not concerned. It's gonna make totally fine beer. Yeah, I'll have to look into that and might need to figure out how to fix that piece of copper there. Didn't do that last time, so that's a new thing. So I know that copper can be kind of finicky, so maybe there's a little pinhole in it or something. Okay, so now that it stopped steaming, we're going to start measuring the temperature with this probe thermometer, but since it's touching the beer, as always, we're going to sanitize it with Star San. There we go. Let's put it in. Where are we at? All right. It's at like 95 degrees, so we still need it to go down about 25 degrees for us to be ready to go. Okay, it is down to temp. I let it go a little longer. It's down at like 67 degrees. Oh, and that's heavy. Oh. What I want to do is I want to stand the kettle up a little bit higher so that I don't have to tilt my fermenting bucket. We might be able to see better once it's in the fermenting bucket, but we have I think a really nice sort of, I guess I would call it like a copper color, kind of orange, a little reddish. That's gonna be too high, but that's okay. Did it. Okay. This is heavy. 1, 2, 3. We did it. We got it up. So that's that to start. Let's remove this. There we go. We will let gravity do most of the work for us. I'm going to just spray things down with sanitizer just one more time. I'm also going to spray some sanitizer in the valve where it comes out. Well, I don't need this yet. I'll just stick that right there. And then, since we have a bunch of little hot particles floating around in our wort still, we're going to sanitize this fine mesh strainer. Put that right there, and that will catch all of the hot particles, which will be a good thing. Okay, so we're going to get this started by turning the valve. Got some high velocity here. I don't know if you can see the color on that or not, but that was kind of the color I was hoping for, so I'm happy with that. Alright, you can really smell some hops too as that filters through, so that's good. Looks like most of the hops have sunk to the bottom because I don't see really any sediment in here yet. So this is a 6-gallon bucket, so we should be good on on space. Although it does seem like there's a good amount still left in here. There, now you can see some of the trub coming out. Yeah, now all the hop garbage. Bunman, what are you doing? He's very particular about his house. He likes to have things set up his own way, so he knocks them around when I put them back where they ought to be. Okay, that's gonna do it. There's a little bit more in there, but it's all just hop stuff. So, I don't know if you can see that. That's just the leftover hop stuff. You can see here also that is all hop stuff. We can strain it out a little bit more. Yeah, but we don't want that stuff in our beer. We don't want that stuff in our beer. We want our beer to be clean and not have all that junk in there. We'll let it keep draining because it's still leaking out. Alright, that's good. Okay, so the final gravity, or the original gravity I had, was a little too high, and that means that we just extracted more sugar than I thought we would. So, that's something to keep in mind. But we did have a half gallon of water left over, so I just added that to get it down more to the gravity that I wanted, to get it in the ABV range that I was expecting. I didn't have to add water. We could have done it and it would have fermented fine, and it just would have been, higher in volume, higher in alcohol, and it would have had more body. But I just added the water because it's not that big of a deal, and it's still going to taste good. This is our yeast, which, yes, I just sprayed with sanitizer. And why aren't you opening? Should be a little notch there. It's not working for me. I'll be right back. There we go. Sanitize, sanitize. Anything that could potentially make contact with the beer needs to be sanitized. So there we go. Should have been a little more prepared. Alright, there we go. And this you can just pour right in there. I'm going to take this out first. We don't need that getting any yeast on it. Pitching it. There we go. That was a little aggressive. I could have sprinkled that a little more easily. Whoop, still some in there. But, ooh, I like the smell of yeast. It's very bready. So there we go. One more aroma that we get to experience with the beer making. However, one last thing I'm going to do. I'm just going to give this a stir here. I'm going to help get the yeast started and mixed up a little bit. It also aerates the wort, which will give it a little bit of oxygen, which will help the yeast get started. After the beer is fermenting, though, oxygen is bad. So I would not do this. I would not do this once things start bubbling. Because I don't know if you've had a beer that sat out too long or something, but it definitely tastes stale, and you get like a cardboard sort of taste to it, which who likes that? Who likes eating cardboard? Now we have I've sanitized this like 3 times already, but hey, we're gonna do it one more time. Alright, it's a good thing we used the 6-gallon bucket because we have more than 5 gallons here. So there's this is the rubber stopper that I have for the bucket. And then because I have a lot of fermentation projects going on right now, all my airlocks are in use. So this is a brand new airlock. I'm going to spray this with sanitizer as well. Yeah, I have 2 batches of mead going right now, which I'm really looking forward to trying. I've never done mead before. That takes a lot longer than making beer, so don't have anything to report on that yet. And then this airlock needs some water. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of sanitized water right in there. There we go. That's good. I'm going to plop this right down in there. This goes in. And this goes on top. And then I'm going to move this to where it's going to sit and ferment. And then I will show you the brew dungeon once I get everything set up. Alright, well, if you thought the lighting in the garage was bad, now we are in the cellar of our house, and this is a legit cellar. Like, this is old stone that was probably dug up a long time ago and turned into a foundation here in the house. But yeah, this is where we store a bunch of our homemade goods. On this side, this is my keezer. I have 3 kegs in it. One of them's empty right now, but soon it will be filled with the pale ale that I made. And I have it just sitting right next to the keezer. This room stays a consistent temperature pretty much all year round. When it's warm out, it will be anywhere from 64 to 68 degrees, which is great. In the wintertime, it drops down to like 55, and on really, really hot days, it might get up to 70. But even like in the hottest days of the summer, this is easily the coolest place in the house. So this is a great place to ferment, and there won't be any temperature fluctuations, which is awesome. And then when we're not down here, we turn the lights off so it's nice and dark too. So yeah, my keezer, got 3 taps. And then this is a new thing. Megan hasn't talked about it yet, but this is her cheeser. So she just got a freezer, an upright freezer, and she's aging cheese in it. Since we have a cow now, we have a lot of milk, too much milk to be honest. But she's been making a lot of cheese. So we have our cheeser and our keezer down here, which we kind of laugh about. We think that's kind of fun. But yeah, I'll do a video on how I put together this this whole setup. It works pretty well for me. It's pretty fun, and I'll give you some updates later on too on how this is doing. And then, but yeah, I can't wait to try the finished product. And it's been a long evening, I guess. It's past midnight now, and I started around 8:30. So yeah, pretty normal brew day in terms of length, but you know, we hit a few snags with the mash temp fluctuating a little more than I would have expected, and then the leak in my wort chiller was kind of a bummer, but other than that, it went really smoothly, and we found a way. That's what you do. And once again, it's not going to ruin the beer. So after I drink it, I won't even be thinking about those things. But all right, here's the finished product. Pretty nice copper color. Happy with that. Some good carbonation too. It smells a little bit roasty from the malt. And I get a little bit of hop aroma, not too much. Yeah, really good. Really clean, crisp, and a little bit of hop bitterness at the end. Really, really drinkable, really nice. It was a good first effort. Learned some stuff for the next time, and I can't wait to make it again. But until then, cheers.